hardware overview for the new robot. This is the all-metal chassis, which allows for a lot more mounting options for things like cameras. As you can see here, we've got 4 cameras on the current setup. The same camera that was on the last robot on top, which is on a tilt servo. It also has a NeoPixel LED array for added light. And then we also have 2 Raspberry Pi no IR cameras, and they have they're set up to the Raspberry Pis there. They have a pan and tilt servo that's on the mount, but they aren't hooked up, and there's really no way to pan them based on the hardware arrangement, which is fine because those metal bars on the left and right are going to get in the view. They're not now, as they are stationary. And the tilt option, they can look down slightly, about 20 degrees before the bar gets into the way of the view, which is a feature that I'm probably not going to use, but the pan tilt hardware mounting was perfect for this setup. And the last one is a IP camera. I think it's Belkin brand. So it just runs off 5 volts, connected to the network, and communicates with the system. Also, it's tilted slightly down so it kind of sees over the gripper structure there and down on the ground. And the gripper is a parallel gripper that also can tilt upwards. So I'll just also run through a couple of demonstrations of the features. I do have a pocket chip handheld controller. I don't know how well it's going to come in with a graphic little app I wrote in tkinter, but it doesn't have all of the features because I got lazy and stopped writing as new features came out. So I also have a laptop here connected to the system on the robot where I'll just send it commands directly. But just to give you an idea of the NeoPixel light there and the tilt ability of the camera, so it can look down as it's gripping objects and coming up on them. The gripper itself, the typical open and close features. And then there's also the ability for it to rise upwards. So that's just a little demo there. And it's also got a lot going on in the back here. So this is where all the I've obviously, as you can see, I don't have much cable management at all. It's really non-existent because, in my opinion, that's just something that's not important, especially at the moment now. Go ahead and give it a little bit more power here. Right now, which is planned to change, but this is a mini ITX board, which is the same board that was on the last robot. It's a Core i5 4590, so strong, 84 watts, and it's about 4 years old, so the processing power is starting to get slow, noticeably with the algorithms. And I'm looking to upgrade to a 8559U soon, probably Intel NUC form factor. Next to it is just a gigabit switch, runs off 5 volts, and then up here I have one of the Raspberry Pis. The other one's mounted directly behind it. They control those no IR cameras, and they're connected to the system via Ethernet. The power system is the simple battery that I've been using for many, many years now and needs to upgrade. It's an 84 watt hour lithium iron phosphate battery, but obviously drawing 84 watts in the system under load, especially driving around with the 12 volt motor, isn't going to give you much. But you can see I mounted the 2.5 inch SSD underneath the board here, but that's the lithium iron phosphate main battery that's going into these terminals here, and that's directly going off into a 5 volt 5 amp regulator, and that provides the 5 volt bus, so to say, for all of the system that pretty much operates all the logic and sensors will need it. And in the corner, I don't know how well you can see it, this is for future use for when that Intel NUC comes or a new system. It's a step up regulator that runs about, I think, 120 watts, so that'll be plenty enough to drive up to 19 volts, which is most of the laptops, systems like that nowadays. In the back here, you can see the other Raspberry Pi in the back of the IP camera. And the 5-volt regulator is scrunched down here. It's a D-Rock from Amazon. Very effective. Let me see if I can move it around enough to see the boards here. What we have going on here with all the red is a 4-channel relay board, and that controls power to the IP camera and the 2 Raspberry Pis right now. There's obviously a channel that's unused I can use in the future for something. For power management, like I said, especially on a small battery, if I'm not using the Raspberry Pis and that IP camera, I like to keep them off. So by default, all channels are turned off, and we can select them when we need to for the software that's being run. The main embedded controller is an Arduino Mega, the 2560. That's the one that controls pretty much everything, and right next to it is the motor controller. It's I cannot think of the brand off the top of my head. I got it from Robot Shop. It's, I don't know, maybe 60 watts, but either way, it's plenty for the motors that are here. I was using on the last robot a SparkFun Monster Moto Shield, but one of the channels died on me, so I got this one, which was almost a third of the cost and still performs perfectly fine. So so far I'm really enjoying it, but I haven't taken it outside and really given it too much of a hard load yet on the motors. Now, real quick with the Raspberry Pi, I'll just demonstrate using that relay. So we can enable both these Pis, and you'll see the red show up there and starts to flash on the Raspberry Pi. So now we're bringing them online, and we should see a little bit of green on the switch. I don't know if it's going to come up or not. That way we'll be able to use the power there. I don't know if I've got the IP camera. I do have the IP camera. There it goes. That's starting to boot up. So now we're drawing all the systems on the current there. Just again, to have that operation, if you know you're running software that doesn't need it, then it's always great to give that a turn off to save some current, save some electricity there. Not generally current, but so that's basically the overview and the hardware systems of the new metal chassis robot. I do have plans on these little header rails right here. I do have 2 PlayStation Eye cameras I'd like to put right here. Once I figure out a way to mount them, and once they're on each end there, I'd like to set up a stereo vision application so I can get a little bit of depth information from stereo cameras. Those 2 mounted will be identical cameras, and the known distance between them. So really that's the whole thing, and if I ever get the software finished, that'll be the next video. Thanks for watching.